Hello and welcome to the Controlled Docs and Training Database video. I'm Andy Swenson. I'm the creator of the database. I built it in Microsoft Access using the 2016 version. We'll go ahead and open it up. It pops up here to this opening screen. This is where most of the people will come. It's designed for managers, supervisors, and other individuals who are responsible for employees. It helps them to keep track of the documents that you have, as well as the training that should be happening on those documents. In addition, you'll notice that there's a regulation section over here. I built this database with the Part 111 regulations in mind. That doesn't mean that they have to be there, so if you're interested in a copy of the database without the regulations, of course we can make that happen. Just let me know and we'll get you that copy. So we're going to start here at the beginning with the documents. I'm going to jump into the controlled filter. This has all of the documents in it, regardless of what their status is. Basically, if it has a number, if somebody's created it, it's going to fall into here. You'll notice the same format across the top of all of the forms. They're built to be filters, and so if you know approximately what your document number is, you can type it in. If you know approximately what the name is, you can type that in and it will filter out everything with that, with those letters in it. It also filters by the status, which is active, and the dates, which create brackets for you, so you can look at things within a certain time frame, or you can look at documents and find out which ones are going to expire. You can also filter by what your active documents are, what your working documents are. I built this category, this working category here. You'll notice that there's creation, revising, routing, and complete to keep track of where the documents are in that creation process. Sometimes it can get a little complex, and I created this category to be very flexible to keep track of that complexity and make it clear. As we check off these boxes, you can see that it filters them out accordingly. So apparently there's nothing with all three, which is good. So let's do that. So you see we have 89 documents out of the 96. This last field over here, these are attachment fields, and these allow us to drop in the documents directly into the database. You'll notice that they are in the native format, so you don't have to worry. So there's a PDF, that's a docx. You don't have to worry about converting into a different format. Microsoft Access does a wonderful job of allowing us to drop as many files as we want into this attachment field, and this enables us to keep track of where the document is. And as documents move from a working version into an active version, then people can train on it. As active versions are retired, then we switch them from here and drop them into here. Thus, we can see what the whole history of the document is, understand what the current active document is, as well as give people access to the working document. So if we open up a working document, I had one that I prepared here. We're going to open up our SOP management. And you'll notice that you can do forms, you can do the SOP itself. So we're just going to double click that. It's going to open up and it's going to be a read-only file. It always opens up as a read-only. The reason for this is that we don't want people to come in and inadvertently or unintentionally change this information. This is for informative purposes only and for training purposes only. The only person who really should be going in here and changing information is the person responsible for the database. And there's a special screen that they can do that on over here in the maintenance screen. So back to this. We have the document. It opens up in read-only, so they can take the working document, they can make the changes that they want, And then they can go and save those changes, but it will force them to create a new save. So we're going to drop that onto my desktop, and we're going to rev that up to 2. Now, when we want to, there we go. When we want to make this into an active document, we'll simply email this rev2 over to the document control manager, to whoever it is who's running this document database. And then they will come in and drop it into the active folder for us. They'll make a PDF and take care of it. The next filter that we have is a participants filter. This enables us to see which employees perform which function for which document. So we can filter and we can look at, let's say, employee, it looks like 81 here. Wouldn't let me. Let's do 82. Adrian Butter. Adrian only has one document that she approves. Very simple, very direct. We can look at Quetzal here. And they have quite a few more. They have 10 documents. What this does is it helps you understand the distribution of the workload. And so you can see that there's quite a few documents assigned to employee 81, whereas there was only one document assigned to employee 82. It helps you to really identify the place where some people are maybe overworked versus other people don't have enough to do. They need to shoulder more of the burden of these documents. This helps you to also understand when people leave the organization, you know which documents they touched, so that you can go in, you can assign a replacement, and these documents won't fall through the cracks. This filter is for your certifications and registrations. Essentially, any company, any facility always has some form of registration or certification that they need to renew on a continual basis. Whether that's with the FDA, such as with your facility registration, if you're in the dietary supplements, or if you have a third-party certification that needs to be done on an annual basis. There's just a lot that needs to be kept track of, and that's what this is designed to do. You'll notice it has the same template as the documents. You can access the active version of the certificate, and then as that certificate expires, you can roll it over into the retired category and then slip the new one back into the active. One of the great benefits of this is when you have people like your sales reps who deal with customers who want to see your certifications, maybe it's ISO, the sales rep can come in here, double click on the active, double click on the active PDF, and then they can send that straight to the sales rep. They don't have to worry about if it's active or not. They don't have to worry about bugging people for it. Everybody knows right where to go. It streamlines the workflow considerably. You can also look at the dates, make sure that you're not passing the review date on things. Just basically keep track of all of your certs and registrations. The next one is responsible person. This one's slightly different from the participants filter. These are the people who are directly responsible for the document and their backup. And we can look at, let's do Adrian again. So Adrian Butter is the primary for this document, 1090. So when this document comes up for review, there's no question about who it needs to be sent to and who gets it. Now we can also look at document 1090, and we see that Alberto Lima is the secondary on this document. So Alberto would be copied on it and would then be notified if Adrian was unable to perform the review and fell through, so that, again, we're trying to be proactive so that the documents don't get missed and so that people are aware of when their documents are due. Now we're getting into some of the reports. So we have a table of contents. We just hit the All button, and this brings up every document that is both active and is checked for the table of contents, the TOC. So these are the documents that you will present to an auditor. So let's say the FDA comes in and they want to see your table of contents because they want to know which documents to request. You would simply print this out for them. This has always the most accurate versions, the most recent versions of the documents, and it provides a very succinct list of what is available. You can see here we have 89 SOPs, and then they can go through, they can choose the document, and as they choose them, you can then come over to the filter and you can pull them up. Again, if they chose the SOP management 1090, you could double click, pull up the SOP, and then go through it with them. That way everybody's looking at the same thing at the same time. Questions get resolved a whole lot quicker. And you're not worrying about shuffling books and papers and do I have the most recent version? It's all right at your fingertips. So the table of contents is there, and then we can also do a department-specific table of contents. I find that this is very convenient for managers, supervisors who have responsibility over departments. They can come in, select their specific department, and then they know exactly which documents they're responsible for. This one's set up a little bit differently. I drop in the effective and the review date because typically you don't share these with auditors. You're going to keep them internal and use them to guide you on which documents you need to focus on. This is the expired and review. Up here you can put in the number of days until the review. I have it set automatically to 90. You can go, you could do 365 days, which is a full year. You could do 180 days, which is 6 months. And then you can come down and you can look at all departments that are expired. You can see there are quite a few. And these are documents, if we look at the date, there are all the documents that the review was due before today's date. So it just looks at what today's date is and then gives you everything that should have been done before today. You can also do this by specific department. Oh, sorry, I didn't choose a department. Let's choose production. So if we just look at production, production has 11 documents that are expired. As we look at those dates, they all match up. So then production, or whoever is over production, would be able to quickly assess where the damage is and start to mitigate it by reviewing those documents and making them active again. We have the review. You can see up here the 180, and basically what it does is it adds 180 days to whatever day you look at this, and it says if any of the review dates fall within that 180 days, they'll end up on this list. You can see that we have 11 documents total that are going to be up for review. Within the next 180 days. You can also do it by specific department. Production has 1. And lastly, we have an expired and review, which is a nice and easy way for you to look at both of those reports dropped in together. So as we look at maintenance, you can see that there are some that are expired, and then we've got one down here that's not going to expire until the end of this month. You'll notice it's 1/6. So that is within the 180 days. And so you have one list that you can hand to maintenance, or that maintenance can pull it themselves and understand exactly what they need to work on as far as priorities. And again, with the specific department. We have the working documents report. Again, I built this class, this category, to keep track of this creation period in the documents. And you can go in and assign them. There are different categories, there are different statuses, so that you can always understand where your documents are. This is set up the same way as the previous, the expired and the review report. And so it will go in and pull any document that has working as its activity, and then it will report its status. As organizations become more mature, they like to streamline things and use this working category. You can also do department specific, and we can open this up. You can see that there aren't any in the production, so let's find one. I believe there were some in quality. Nope. Let's come back to all. Maintenance had 2, so if we chose maintenance, there we go. So again, maintenance can look and see where their documents are and what they need to focus on. Lastly, we have the certificates or certifications and registrations set up the same way. You type in the days and you can see what's coming up to be reviewed. We don't have any. And then what's expired. We have the one, the NSF, and it was assigned to Anna Killer, and the date that it was due was the 2nd of, it looks like, August in 2016. Next, we're going to move on to the training section and the employee management part. Here's where we have the employee information. So the way the training is set up is it goes off of the combination of a position and a department. So you'll notice that we have, if I type in blending, oh no, sorry, I just wanted the blending. That's what I wanted. So you notice that we have 4 employees assigned to the blending technician, or as a blending technician in the production department. And so the way the database is set up is SOPs documents will be assigned to the blending technician in the production department. So this way, if Philemon decides to leave or switch departments or go and perform another job, and somebody comes in to fill his place, you don't have to reassign all of the documents to them, because he'll just do the standard blending technician in the production department. He'll just take whatever SOPs were assigned to this combination. It makes it very convenient when people leave and when people switch, because you don't have to reset everything up. So let's take a look then. Actually, I'm going to leave that open, and we're going to take a look at the required filter. So this is where you can see, here's the department, and then the position, and then the document, as well as the active versus the working. Again, we can open these up. We can do training on the active versions. If people want to look at the working versions and make edits so that they can submit them to be made active, then they can do that through the working attachment field. We can look at everybody in production, and we can, let's isolate the blending technician again. So as a blending technician, there are 8 documents that they need to be trained on. Again, this helps us to understand who needs to be trained on what. So all of your blending technicians in production need to be trained on these documents. This trainers button is set up a little bit differently. You'll notice that there's no pull down for names, so I did not connect it to the names that are in the employee information. The reason is you can have training from various outlets. Some of those can be internal, some of those are external. We want to be able to write them down and keep track of them. Forklift Training RS is obviously not an employee, therefore it would be inappropriate to put them in here. So I made it basically a free-form field where you can record whoever does the training, and you don't have to worry about matching up names or anything else. I divided training into two segments. One is a group training and one is a self-training. They're set up very similar ways. So in the group training, you would choose a document, and we want that SOP document. Actually, let's just do, well, let's do change control. And we're going to choose me as the trainer, and we're going to choose employees that are going to attend this training. And then when I hit the open button, the training log gets printed, and you can see the document information across the top, the training date, the trainer name that we put in, a place for me as the trainer, I can initial and date, as well as all of the people who attended that training. You'll notice too that down here we include verbiage that makes very clear what our expectations are. So any associate that initials and dates, we're certifying that they understand all the content, they've had any questions and concerns resolved, and that they agree to meet the expectations outlined in the training. Additionally, for the trainer, when the trainer initial and dates, they're certifying that the persons listed completed the training and that all of the questions were resolved. So we're essentially telling people that their initial and date means something, and that this is our record that we're going to use for all of the training. Lastly, I have a naming convention that I use. So this is a group training. So you have one document, you have a trainer, and then he trains this group of people, or she. In this case, you would need to name it like this, and there is a reason for it, and it'll become apparent as we go on in the training. So what I'm going to do is print this to a PDF. We're going to drop it onto my desktop. And the name of this should be G for Group 2017-0106. And we do the doc number, which is 1005. So then I would take this training log, I would print it off, and then I would have my employees who attended the training initial and date it. And then I, as the trainer, would initial and date it. The next button here is the All button, and basically it overlooks the people that we have added in for an open training log, and it does a set training log, and it says, okay, who are all of the people that are assigned to be trained on the change control? And it pulls them all together and then dumps them into this one document. This document is convenient if you know that everybody is going to attend the training. If everybody on this list is there, then great, go ahead and print it out. But when you have only half of the people there, it really gets quite messy because you have to line through an initial and date, and then, you know, make a note down at the bottom, these people did not attend. It's really a lot cleaner to just add them as they come in the room and then print an open training log. We have a blank training log without any information but spaces for you to fill it out. I prefer not to use it. I strongly suggest you don't. If it's important enough to train on, it is important enough to be set up as a real document. However, it's there for your convenience. And then lastly, we have curriculum. So this is looking at just the change control, and it just gives you a list of the employees who need to be trained on this document. So the next training segment is the self-training. So we looked at one document being trained multiple people being trained with one document. Now we're going to look at the reverse of that, which is one person training on multiple documents. So we're going to do sort of the same thing, and we're going to choose, I want to choose this guy, Annabelle. And we can choose the documents. And we'll hit the open button, and here they are. So Annabelle across the top, and then we have the documents that we chose. Again, the same verbiage. And this time what we're saying is that Annabelle can go and read these documents and self-train on them. What we're saying is that when Annabelle initials and dates, that Annabelle understands the content, has had all the questions and concerns resolved, and that Annabelle will meet the expectations outlined in the training. So what we're saying essentially is that we trust that Annabelle is an adult and can ask questions when she does not understand. Also, we're saying that the supervisor, when they initial and date down here, is saying, yes, this really is Annabelle, and they completed the training on the log and they didn't have any questions. You'll notice that the self-training is a little bit different. Instead of a document number at the end, we do the employee number. Again, that will become apparent why we need to do that. So I'm going to PDF this one as well. Drop that to the desktop. And the name should be S 2017-0106. And her number is 85. Again, you would print this off, hand it to Annabelle. She would go, she would have access to the documents through the filter. She can open them up one by one, read them, make sure that she understands them. If she doesn't, she'll ask questions, and then sign off on the log that she did it. The other one that we have is the all, which basically Annabelle needs to be trained on all of these documents. This is a lot more convenient for the self-training log, and a lot of times you'll see different dates on here as they have time during their workday. They can break away, they can go read 2 or 3 procedures, ask questions. So that's no problem to have 3, 4, 5 different dates on here. When the whole record is complete, then Annabelle would initial and date below, hand it into her supervisor who would initial and date, and then the training record's complete. It would then be scanned in and saved. We also have the blank training log. This time it's for self. And we have the curriculum. So if we looked at everything that Annabelle Flat had to train on, here it is. So now that we have the training done, we need to go ahead and upload those records. So again, we're making the assumption that that Annabelle performed the training for the self-training and that the group training was done. You've now scanned that document into your computer and you've saved it with the appropriate name or naming convention. So we're going to come here and we are going to do one for the group, 2016-0106, and that document number was 1005. And then I'm going to upload that document. And hit OK. And then there's the completed training document. We will do the same for Annabelle's. Oh, I always forget. It's 85, isn't it? Oh, just noticed that I got my date wrong here. And then we'll do the same here for Annabelle. and we will upload. Oh, here's the self-training right there. So these are the completed documents for each of these training. And then we're going to come in and we're going to record the training that just took place. This is how the database compares what you should have done versus what you actually have done. So we would need to open up this training. We're going to open up the group training. And we have 1005 change control. So the first one here, we're going to do it with Adrian, number 82. 1005, it was on, looks like it was on version 2. It was a group training. Oh, sorry, I was the trainer. It was a group training, happened today, and then we can choose the document. So we know that it was a group, we know that it happened today, and this is why we have the specific naming convention. So I know automatically that the training that I'm looking for, 1005, was my document number. This is the date on which it happened, and it was group. And so then we would simply go in and do this for each person. We do 85, 1005, version 2. Andy was the trainer. It was a group training, and we can do it this way. 2017, there it is. Simple as that. Now let's do the self-training. We'll shut this one. So if we look at the self-training, we have Annabelle training on 1002. So she's 85. She did 1002. And it was version 1. And it was a self-training. It was today's date. And so again, because of how we name things, there she is. That was her training. We'll do one more. 1004. It was also version 1. Self, self. It was today's date. Self, 2017, 85. So you can see that you can enter it in very quickly with only, you don't even have to type everything. The program automatically fills in the cells. The nice thing about this is as you build up your training, you can come in and you can filter. So when an FDA inspector comes in or an auditor comes in and they want to take a look at all the training for a specific person, you can just run a quick filter and then you can double click and there is their training record. Then you can open it up and in theory these would be signed or initial and dated, initial and date, initial and date. Training would be done. There's your evidence that it's complete, and as quick as that you've shown conclusive evidence that training was correctly conducted. The other nice thing about this is you can run what's called an outstanding report, which means we can look at Annabelle. Sorry, I need to close these real quick. Let's close this too. There we go. So we're going to look at Annabelle Flat, and we're going to take a look at what she still needs to be trained on. So if she trained on 1008 and we recorded that, so 85 and 1008, we're going to insert this here. 85, 1008, she did it on version, oh, I didn't get the version. Well, we're going to try this anyway. I have to have a training record. Okay. So now when we look at it, you'll notice that the 1008 fell off. because we just entered in the training that Annabelle did in the employee training section. So the database is able to look at what you should do, and then as you enter in the training records, it looks at what you have done, and then it will give you the difference between the two. One of the other important things is this version. So let's say Annabelle had trained on 1048, except it was version 4. And you can see here that version 5 is the latest version. The database will look at version 4 that she trained on and say, oh, sorry, there's a version higher. You need to retrain on document 1048. This way, you know that Annabelle is always current, up to date on the latest and active documents. And again, you can run the curriculum for Annabelle to see exactly what she needs. This is handy for supervisors when they want to make sure that their employees are staying up to date on their training. They can run these curriculum reports, talk with their employees, let them know, hey, you've got 5 or 6 of these things outstanding. We need to get these taken care of. Let's get a plan in place. Let's move this forward. And lastly, we have the performed. And so this is kind of the reverse of that. You can look at all of the training that we just entered in for Annabelle. She's been trained on a total of 4 documents. This is very convenient for things like merit increases and annual reviews. It's very convenient too to prove that Annabelle received the training that she needed to perform the job that she's been assigned. And when you have things like FDA inspections, it's very critical that you always make sure that you prove that they are qualified to perform their jobs. And this nice list here is your evidence. This is how you prove that Annabelle or one of your employees is qualified. The other part that we have here is in the regulations. And I built this so that you could look at the regulations. All of the paragraphs are here for Part 111. You can sort by paragraph. So if I wanted to look at every paragraph with an I believe A1 in it. There are 18 paragraphs and they span these sections and these subparts. We can look at an entire section. We're just going to look at section 15. There are 39 paragraphs within section 15, which tells us there's a lot of work that needs to be done for section 15 and compliance. This other one is where we hook up documents with the specific paragraph, section, and subpart. This helps us to understand where our gaps are. So if we have documents that support a paragraph or a section versus if we do not. You can see that there are quite a few that we have listed here. We can go through and look at, let's choose document 1003 since that's what we're on. And you can see that the paragraphs, the sections are all here. And again, we know exactly what document to look for to support which regulation. And lastly, we have the Part 111 regulations in a nice format in a PDF, all hyperlinked so that you can look at it in context, see all the verbiage together. Sometimes it really helps when you're trying to understand what the intent of the regulation is. And this part is now concluded. So this is what the general employees will see. The next part of this video is just going to be the maintenance screen and what you can and can't change. Really, the employees, we want them to have access to data on the screen. We want them to be able to train on it and record that training. And then the second part, type in the password. our maintenance screen comes up. This is all the back-end stuff. This is all of the things like categories and adding and taking away employees and documents, etc. So we'll take a look at the documents first. This is the whole document and all of the subgroups associated with it. So you can come in and scroll through all your documents. As we open these up, oh, sorry, let me pull one with a Word document. I want that. Let's do a search. Do a search here. And I want to search any part of the field. I want that SOP management. There we go. So I can come in here, open it up. You'll notice no read-only up here, which means we can make changes. You'll notice too that this add and remove are not grayed out like they were over here. So let me show you that real quick. So if I double click on this, you'll notice that add and remove have been grayed out because you can't change things on this form. But you can change things on this form, which is why you can add and remove. So this is where the person who's responsible for your documents, they're going to come in, they're going to create the numbers, they're going to make them active, working, table of contents, they're going to add comments, change history, whatever they want, put in their dates. They're going to assign participants, which this one doesn't seem to have many. There was one. So we have participants assigned. You simply choose the employee, choose which role they perform. Again, the responsible person, so we would choose Alberto, and he would be the primary, and then his backup would be Boris, and he would be the secondary. And then here's where you assign the training, so you would choose the correct position. So let's say we had all of our packaging. Let's do, I want a purchasing technician in the purchasing and planning department. So anybody with this title in this department would need to be trained on this document. And then lastly, we have the regulations. And so if we wanted to assign this document to, let's say, let's choose a paragraph. Now it's, this document is covering paragraph A in section 70 of subpart E. So this is where you can take a look at the whole document all at once. This is where you can look at the documents all together, much like the control documents filter, except on this one you can actually change everything. So we can change the status from active to retired. We can change it to working, to whatever it is that we need. Sometimes it helps to look at the documents like this as opposed to by themselves, because it helps to put things in context and you can understand exactly who's responsible for what. So if we wanted to look at everything assigned to quality, they have 51 documents. If we looked at everything in production, they have 17 documents. So again, you can look in context, see where the workload is, see how things are distributed, and shuffle your documents around as they become active versus working and retired. Make your comments, etc. Here's again where you can do the training, looking at it from a broad perspective. Here are all the documents, their description, and then the position and department. So as these requirements change, you would come in here and alter them, or you would add in new. You know, if we created a new document and we needed to add a new position in a new department. And now anybody with this combination we can now go back in, run our outstanding training report, and all of a sudden people who didn't have to be trained on this yesterday now would have to be trained on it because we fixed it and now they need to be. Participants, the same document, and then we assign the employee and then what their role is. Regulation, again, the same concept. Person per document, we assign the employee, we assign their role, and then the specific document. And then lastly, this is where we have these certifications and registrations, where we can come in and alter them. We can drop in the active versus the retired. We can change the dates, change the names, etc. Over here are basically categories. And so as we look at our status categories, this is our active, retired, and working. So if you didn't like the word active or let's say retired and you wanted to call it archive instead. Now I can come in here and everything that did have the word active will now have the word archive. So now we have those documents say archive instead of retired. It really just depends on what you want your system to work, or how you want your system to work, and what you want it to say. Some people like specific words, and I've made the system so that you can go ahead and drop those in. And for the most part, they're changeable. Document type, same thing. You can drop in whatever you have, whether it's a policy, a procedure, or an SOP, or a process, or however you want to call it. The rest of these are the same thing. You just go in, make your categories the way you want them. Here's the employee information form. This has a lot more information, you'll notice, than the employee information here. This has basic information so that we can look real quick. One of the nice things about this, in the FDA inspections that I've participated in, they often ask, well, how many people are in this facility? And so I can come over here and filter, and then I only want active people. And so I can say, oh, there's 19 people in the Reno facility that are active. And they go, oh, great, perfect. And how many of those are in the quality department? And then I can click on the quality, and then I can say, oh, 2 of them are. So you can have information very, very quickly. And here's where you're going to come in and say whether or not they're active, whether or not they are full-time employees, part-time employees, temporary, and as with the other information, other categories, you can come in and change those however you want. So the titles, you can come in, maybe you only have one title, maybe everybody's an associate in your company, so you can get rid of all the rest, or you can keep them and only ever choose associate when you are making that assignment. So these are all categories as well. So that concludes the control documents database and employee training. I hope this was beneficial. Again, this is a product that I have built and have sold quite a few times. If you're interested in pricing and options, please give me a call or email me at andyswenson@gmail.com. That's ANDYSWENSON@gmail.com. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a great day. Take care.